Okay, this is Dr. Bo Neichoy with Panhandle Weight Loss Center in Amarillo, Texas, coincidentally just down the street from me. So, Bo, thanks for being on the show today.
No problem. It's gonna be fun.
So the title of this recording is Attracting More Cash Pay Volume. And, as we've added more, well, I should start with the Boost Bariatric story started basically right there in the room that you're sitting. You guys were the first client we ever had, worked with you the longest, more than anybody. And if you would you take a couple minutes and just tell the story about how you decided to choose the niche of bariatrics and how you and Blue got together and all of that?
Yeah, I came to the Panhandle of Texas to a small town called Borger, just north of Amarillo, from the University of Florida for my surgical training. And I was a one-person community surgeon. Got really busy really fast, loved it. But noticed I was taking care of a lot of weight-related issues in my clinic. For example, people that would go off to another facility, have surgery, come back, be struggling, either need a scope or just hand holding in general. And that's when we started, really looking into the market of the Panhandle and Amarillo as far as weight loss and weight loss surgery. Had a buddy of mine over in Dalhart, Texas, named Blue John. He was also a one-man community surgeon over there in Dalhart, and we got together, compared notes, saw that this was a common theme in the Panhandle, people going off to destination surgery, coming back to the Panhandle with no education, nobody to help them with complications, things of that nature. And so that's kind of the story of how we started. We started off doing, moved to Amarillo, set up a 2-exam room clinic, started seeing patients, did a lot of general surgery still at that point. We're taking general surgery call. And then as your private or your elective bariatric practice grows, you got to start scratching your head, looking at that general surgery call and how many days and how many hours it eats up and interferes with your elective practice. I don't think you need me to tell you, once you get a taste of an elective practice, on-call surgery doesn't seem all that fun anymore. And once we were able to get that up and go and have enough volume, we completely pulled out of general surgery call and minimized our general surgery elective consults, as well as the bariatric business grew.
Yeah, as a percentage of business, your general surgery now is, what'd you say, less than 5%?
I'd say less than 5%, probably more as we've added links or paraesophageal hernia repairs and reflux for surgery, links specifically for our post-sleeve and post-duodenal switch patients. So I'd say that's probably come up to probably 10-15%, but you could probably say it's 95% foregut, and I'd say the outside of that's gallbladders and occasional hernias.
Mm-hmm. And in the first year that you and Blue, how many years ago did you guys start shop in Amarillo?
Having to scratch my head now. I think it was 2013 to 14,
Okay.
kind of in that block. I'd say our first year we probably did 150 bariatric cases. That's probably upper limits. I'm pulling that number out of my imagination. And we thought we were busy. We thought we were Cadillac. We thought that we'd set the world on fire. And so we went down that pathway. And I'd also kind of throw in there, I'd probably say 50% of our initial volume was Medicare. Yeah. There was another bariatric surgeon in town when we got here. He pretty much had the private insurance market and any kind of cash pay market. So we were just picking up scraps with Medicare, not to call Medicare scraps, but that other surgeon had stopped accepting Medicare. Mm-hmm. And we said, heck yeah, we'll take it.
So from there, around 150 cases. And I know you guys have done a lot of different marketing things, and you pull from a really wide area. So today you've added a third surgeon. Of course, don't share anything that you don't want, because I'm going to share this with everyone I can. So don't give away your secrets. But do you mind sharing, in the last couple of years, how many bariatric cases you guys average?
Yeah, I'd say in the past 2 to 3 years, I bet we average at the minimum probably 700 up to the maximum, probably 800, 850. And that varies based off certain things. certain things we've done with you, certain things, just different flows and how we pull people through conversion percentages. But I'd say a bad year for us would be 600, 650. Good year is going to be 850 plus.
Mm-hmm. And no Medicaid. You still do Medicare.
Right. Yeah. No Medicaid. I'd probably say our practice went from 50% Medicare to probably 10 to 15% Medicare at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's listening and trying to start a practice, people kind of look at Medicare as, they're sicker patients, they're unhealthier patients. But they're willing. So they want somebody to give them hope and give them help. But B, they talk the loudest in the community. If you operate on Grandma Susie and she's got 3 daughters and 2 granddaughters, and she goes to church, and you treat her right, you can't view Medicare as a detriment to your fee schedule or your payments. You have to look at it as, hey, here's an opportunity to do a good job, and that person's going to go out and tell everybody else about what she experienced with us.
That's a great point. Yeah, because even before we started really pouring on marketing, and you guys were doing more digital marketing, the vast majority of your volume came from friends of friends of friends of friends. From what's unique, you guys pull patients from 300. It's not uncommon to get patients from 300 miles away, right?
Yeah. So unique to the Panhandle, we service multiple states. So we got New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma, Kansas, and then our southern reach would probably be down to Abilene, and then our eastern reach is probably Wichita Falls, if not a little bit further on that side. I'd say if you're in Wichita Falls, it's about a 50-50 whether you're going to go to Dallas or you're going to come to Amarillo. Right. But that's still a wide swath of land to cover.
Yep. And so leads us to the topic of this conversation, because you guys do as much cash as anybody that I've ever seen in the nation. And you can say the percentage if you want to, but was it 30, 40% cash pay?
I'd probably say 40 at the minimum, 40% cash pay. I think some years it probably touches in closer into the 50s. But we've always done a significant amount of cash pay there's a multitude of reasons. Number one, bariatric coverage on insurance plans in the Panhandle is pretty poor. And typically across the state and across the nation, it's going to be pretty poor. So you look at your population that you're appealing to. So take all those people, take out people that aren't working. So you take out your Medicare population, you take everybody out under 18. So you got this population of people, and then would say 25 to 30% of all insurance contracts with their employer actually cover bariatrics. So haircut your numbers one more time. And if you're only going to do insurance, and if that's all you're going to cater to, and that's all you want to deal with, you've just minimized your available clientele by a drastic percentage. Mm-hmm. So number one, there was a need, right? So there's people out there that need help, that want help, and just their insurance doesn't help them out with that. So off of that, we kind of rode into wanting to be fair and transparent, right? So now obviously I could put a billboard up and say, hey, we're charging $25,000 for a sleeve, and I take $10,000 a case home. Not going to have many people bite. I may have a few, but just being realistic about what my average expectations on the insurance patient is, and comparing that to the cash experience, but also going to the hospital and being a patient advocate, right? Because initially, when you start doing these cash cases in their hospitals, they're gonna want to charge that patient everything they charge that insurance patient, right? So up front, you'd be like, all right, well, you give your cash people a 40% discount, right? That's pretty standard at most hospitals. So you get it into, you're actually not even the ballpark yet, but you've started the conversation with the hospital to get it down. Next thing we did was take the price index for the case. Get your stapler rep to write down how much money you're spending with them, your heat rep, your turnover per case, how many nurses, anesthesiologists. All right, so now we have a true and legitimate number to present to the hospital. and to say, realistically, what do you want your price margin to be on this case? Because if you go too high, we don't do them, right? Or another thing, lucky for us, is we operate at two major hospitals. So I'll be pretty honest, we pitched them against each other, a little bit of a bidding war, because we had a significant amount of cash patients. So we kept driving that price down on the facility side even further, to try to get that price point more available for patients.
And then, so there was a need. You were able to drive the largest cost down, which is facility fee. And then, what was it, 3-ish years ago, you guys decided to build your own ASC.
Right. So we just truly blessed in this situation, but a space came available basically right across the street from us. So very convenient. We had wrestled in our head, hey, how can we contain facility costs? And obviously you start thinking, well, the only way to do that is to do it ourselves, because you can only go so far on systems owned and managed hospitals. So we had tossed around the idea of building an ASC, purchasing. There was a surgical hospital in town. They said our patients were too big, so they wouldn't let us invest. We all know that orthopedic patients probably have higher BMI rates than bariatric patients, so that somewhat irritated us to a certain extent. And just luckily, this space came available, and we went to go check it out, actually, for a clinic space. And lo and behold, it had been an accredited ASC. Bones were there, all the infrastructure was there. It had just been plastered over to make into a physical rehabilitation center. So we bought it, did a minimal amount of remodel, got it back to a 2 OR ambulatory care center, about 10,000 square feet, with the intent to purely just do bariatrics there 2 days a week. That grew into a multi-specialty ambulatory surgery center, and it's grown beyond our wildest means. But the biggest emphasis in the context of this conversation is now we are able to control the facility fee and keep it within reasonable margins based off reimbursement on insurance cases, just appropriate expectations. Like, I've never understood why we price gouge our cash pay patients. So, if you have a facility that you're dealing with that's in the business of price gouging people that don't have insurance, you might want to find another place to negotiate. Or if you're in a state that allows you to own and operate your own ASC without a certificate of need, then I do encourage you guys to look at that
Right.
as an option.
Yeah. And we don't have to talk about this now, but then you guys ended up taking on quite a few other specialties and other partners that invest in the surgery center. And now that thing is cranking the OR every day, right?
Right.
Also, this wasn't on my list, but I just thought, you guys probably do as many switches as anybody in the country. Are you doing cash pay switches?
We do cash pay switches under a BMI of 55 for males, outpatient at the surgery center. So completely outpatient, home 2.5 hours after surgery, up to a BMI of 60 for females. And then anything over that goes back to the main hospitals. Just from an ambulatory surgery center regulation standpoint, having to cap those BMI points.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably 20% of our duodenal switches, and we do probably on average 200 to 250 a year, are done in the outpatient setting. Even I'd probably say 10 to 15% of the ones we actually do at the hospital still go home same day.
Wow. I don't want to get off track, but are more patients showing up into the initial consult room and being a little bit more educated on the switch? I've heard of it. I know what it is. My buddy had it. Is that happening?
No, for sure. Yeah. So two things: patients talk, and then number two, primary care talks.
Yeah.
And so when we have referrals on those kind of more appropriate candidates, either like really bad diabetes or BMIs over 45, most of the primary care is already kind of laid that foundation of what procedure to look into. And then also within families, within work groups, within church groups, those people talk and they compare. Hey, I had a gastric bypass and this happened. Hey, I had a sleeve and this is what's going on. Hey, I had a duodenal switch and and these are my results. So patients do get together, and so it is a more educated clientele than, we incorporated the dude on switch probably 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Probably started off doing about 50 to 75 in that first 1 or 2 years, and it's just steadily grown. We used to do probably 2 a week. Now I bet we're doing 8 a week. So I mean, it's grown quite a bit, and mainly because patients are educated and want to know more about it.
Sure. If you guys take a lot of volume to both of those hospitals in town, then you build your own ASC. So some of the volume at least is going to go away. How did you, if I'm a physician in a major market and I've got a great relationship with the hospital, I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen when I build my ASC. How have you guys maintained the relationship between the hospitals and all that?
Well, when it comes down to it, we're still profiting both those hospitals $5 to $7 million a year. So, I mean, you can have part of the pie, you can have another pie. I think that's kind of a specific to our market. I mean, we're the biggest bariatric practice in this market and probably in this region. So even though we're not doing 100% of our cases at either one of those hospitals or at our surgery center, we're still doing a pretty high percentage. So there's 2 hospitals in our community, 2 large hospitals. One of them we probably do 50% of our overall volume at. And then we probably do 30% of our overall volume, 35% of the surgery center, and the rest goes to that second hospital. That second hospital struggling with volume anyway, so they're not particularly going to run anybody off. And then the one that we're doing 50% of our volume, they still know that we're bringing. I mean, we're operating 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. We have an operating day there, so. And when it comes down to it, we couldn't, without getting another operative day, which they probably don't have the room for, they couldn't take any more of our volume.
Yeah. Certainly getting cash pay and getting attention has to do with spending some money on marketing, but also building a brand. Even a lot of the clients that we work with, and certainly lots of the guys, they still want to keep their foot in lots of general surgery. And they won't make the shift. You go to your website today, it is a weight loss surgery website. The general surgery is even hard to find. What would you say to someone who hasn't made the jump, would love to make the jump and say, I'm only bariatrics? How do you do that? What's your thought process?
Yeah. Without just calling it a leap of faith. It's more about market analysis, right? And so I think anytime anybody creates a business out there outside of medicine, they actually look at a market, they look at a need, and they supply it. Whereas in medicine, for some reason, we do everything just completely backwards in medicine. So you roll into the Panhandle of Texas, we're probably looking at 750,000 people in our catchment. And we've got a 5 to 7% morbid obesity rate, with probably knocking on a 45 to 50% obesity rate. Start looking at insurance coverage, start looking at those cash prices. It was kind of a no-brainer for us. Number one, from the market, looking at what's out there. And number two, when you realize how disruptive that general surgery portion of your practice is to your elective portion, that's a big deal. And number three, when people are looking around for surgeons, right? I mean, if you're gonna get your breast done, you're gonna go to the face guy that does breast every once in a while, right? Or you're gonna go to the breast surgeon that does breast surgery, right?
I only want.
So I don't get my oil changed at the brake guy. So there is an element of that, and when people know that is your passion, when they know that is what you have committed your clinic to, right. And we after this we can kind of get into how we run our clinic and what the employees we have and what it looks like compared to a general surgery clinic. Once a patient walks into a clinic, they know it's specifically about their health and wellness. That's an easier sell. I mean, even going back to the cash discussion, right? If I'm going to drop $10,000 on a procedure, I kind of want to know that this is the guy that's all he does, right? Yep. So that's kind of my encouragement would be just to look at your market, look at who's out there, look who's available. If those percentages line up in your favor, I mean, that it'll come. If you build it, I mean, hate to steal a movie reference, but if you build it, it happens, man. It's hard for it to happen within the setting of a busy general surgeon.
Yep. That's good stuff. Okay, man, I don't have any other great questions about cash pay. I wrote that down. Let's schedule another one and talk about staffing for a purely bariatric clinic.
Yeah, that's where we're going to scare everybody away.
No kidding. You start talking about overhead and management.
Take your 5-person general surgery clinic, hire 20 more people.
So last question, what do you see, what's the next 10 years of private practice versus employed? Is private is it going to get smaller, or are more people going to go that way?
Yeah. When I look at the relationship between physicians and hospital systems and staying private versus being employed, it's hard to really give opinion because you're dealing with some different generations, right? So the generation before me, the 2 generations before me, my generation, and probably only 50% of my generation, we still have to fight, right? I want to run my own clinic. I want to call the shots. I want to do the things. I want to make it as good as I can make it. Whereas I think the next generations of surgeons just want a paycheck, right? They just want to punch a clock, go home, take their call responsibilities, have insurance, not take advantage of all the things the government has set up for people like me. I mean, that's their choice, whatever they want to do. I think at some point it'll reverse. I mean, it's America, right? We always tilt one way and tilt back the other. Soon people will realize that these hospital systems are operating on margins, and those margins have nothing to do with you, right? So you got, I have a CEO here in town, a hospital. He makes $2 or $3 million. He's got a regional CEO. He makes $2 or $3 million, probably $4 million. You got to make more than the local CEO. He has a sub-regional CEO, and I'm leaving out the rest of the C-suite, right? And then they got CEO suite of the whole company up in Tennessee that's CEOs making $10, $15 million a year, right? But they can only pitch to their investors at 6 to 7% margins. Okay, people are going to figure that crap out at some point. We have to. When it comes to medicine, we got to look at that, right? I'm the one slaving, taking the risk, doing patients and taking care of patients. I'm making money especially specifically if I go work for a system and I'm employed, I take a haircut on my potential. Right. And so until people want to buy into that, they're going to continue to flood to employed jobs because of stability. Right. Anyways, probably didn't answer your question.
No, that's a great answer. Yeah. We've talked about it before. We've both chosen the path of self-employment or business ownership, and people think that having a job is very secure, but you have one source of income. And at least when you have clients or patients, you've got many, 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 many sources of income. So we've seen the last 10 years of people being wiped out who thought they were in a safe, secure job. So anyway, now we're getting off track.
Yeah, man. I love it.
Hey, that was fantastic information. I want to keep these short and sweet so they're not too long, so we can listen to them when we're doing a short jog in the morning or something. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to get you signed up for the next one.
Okay. All right, Maddie.
Thanks, Bo.
Have a good day, bud.
Bye.